Hi everyone, it's Jeanette here from the Sewing Studio with a quick little demonstration here today, and it's in response to a couple of comments and queries we've had through my English paper piecing tutorials previous. I think we've done 2 previous to this, and the question was about how do you get a straight edge. So I thought I would cover that here today, and there's actually 3 methods that I use, and it will depend which one I use depending on what I'm going to use the piece that I've English paper pieced for. So let's go through the first and probably I was going to say the easiest, but they're all pretty easy, I guess. And you can get, now I'm just going to move that out of the way and bring these 2 shapes in. You can actually get part hexagons. So this is a half hexagon cut across the horizontal, and this is a half hexagon cut across the vertical. And if I just move those out of the way and bring this in, now these aren't quite the right size, but you'll get the gist. So that one would fit in there, and that one would fit in there. So basically that's going to straighten off your edges. So you've got your side edges and these. Now you can see on this one that actually I've sort of replicated that, but instead of making it where we wrap the fabric around the shape, on this one I literally just took a paper hexagon with the fabric on it and cut it in half, and I actually stitched those in. So you can see there those edges aren't finished. Now I don't need those to be finished for what I'm going to do with this, so I'm quite happy with that. But if I'd sort of planned ahead, I could have made little half shapes, and let me just show you. So that's the piece of fabric. So exactly the same as when we're doing our full hexagon, and you would just stitch that fabric around the shape. And the same with the vertically cut one, your paper would go like that, your fabric would go around, and then you would have a nice finished edge on the sides and on the top and bottom. So that is method number 1. Now the next way you can straighten off your edges, and I've sort of done it here, is you can literally just trim it. So that's what I would have done in these. Those would have been full hexagons and I could have trimmed, but I tend to just make a little half hexagon and trim that off. But the other way, and let's do it now together, and I'm actually just going to bring it there only because we've got a bit of a gap in the table there, is I'm just going to trim, and I'm just going to move it round so I can see my 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to trim those edges off. Now I'm happy to do this now because I'm about to use this. Now the one thing to watch here is you just make sure you don't leave a gap, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. So literally I'm just taking off those small pieces. And if I bring that in under the close-up, you can see there's a little bit of a gap there, but that's going to end up in the seam. So I'm not going to worry about that. So you just want to make sure you cut enough off that you haven't left a hole there when you come to put your seam in. So you can literally, now I might as well do the other side while I'm at it, because I don't need this to be a particular size. So I can just trim off those edges. And I'm just making sure I've got a straight line across the top there. And that's just the little bit you're going to sort of lose from that. Now, because this is going to go into a little bag like this, it doesn't matter that I've lost those edges. Now, if you're doing it on a quilt, a large quilt, and you don't want part hexagons or trimmed off hexagons, you can use the half hexagon method, and that's probably what I would do if I was doing a large quilt. So that's the second method. We can just literally just cut them off and make straight edges. Now, the third and final method is you could come in and you could applique it to another piece of fabric and use that as your straight edge. So if I still had my peaks there, I could literally just come along. You would need those edges to be enclosed, so they're not raw edges, but I would just come along and I would applique that down. That would work really well for the side pieces as well if you wanted to put the side, and then you use this as your straight edge and you can trim that. And if I bring this little pouch in, you can see that that's what I've done here. I've actually appliqued that onto a background piece of fabric. You can either do it strips if you want top and bottom, or side to side, or you can take a piece of paper or a piece of fabric, that's larger than your paper pieced, English paper pieced bits, and just applique it down, and then that background bit is what you use. Now, if I'm appliquing it onto a piece of fabric like this, I will do something in the paper crafting world, they call it gutting. I don't know if there's a word specifically for it in sewing, but you just snip away any of the excess fabric from the backing fabric or the background fabric, so you just reduce the bulk there because there's quite a lot of fabric there already with your turned edges from your hexagons. So hopefully that's answered the query. I hope that's given you some ideas. As I said, depending on what I'm going to do with the hexagons will dictate which method I use. But certainly if you're doing that for a quilt where you've got those odd edges around your quilt and you don't want to be binding funny angles, then I would definitely put in the part hexagons to finish off those edges. That will make it nice and quick and easy for you. So thank you very much for that. If you're doing any English paper piecing, because I know we had some new viewers, comments from some new viewers watching this, do share your progress with us, even if it's not the fully finished article, because it does inspire other people, because quite a few people have sort of said, oh, I wasn't brave enough to give it a go, but now I've seen you do it, I'm going to give it a try. So please do share that with other people and say, you know, this is my first time doing it, because it will encourage other people to give it a go. I absolutely love doing it. So, you know, would get the whole world in English paper piecing if I could. So thank you for that. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please give us a like, comment, share with anybody that you think might find this useful. And thank you for your time. And I hope you'll join us again here next time in the Sewing Studio.